Welcome to our first best of 5 of this evening. We start on Overgrowth, spawning to the top right hand corner, playing as Purple Protoss for Team Rival and the United States. It's Koshkii. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, playing as Red Protoss for Team She's Got the Lane and Chile. It's Piscolita. Opening with a gateway first, same as Koshkii does. So both just mostly mirroring each other's build. We have an assimilator for both players. Actually also on the same guys here, the one to the right hand side. Watching from both players' perspective. So, Koshkii already sending out a probe, and Piscolita checking for any proxy locations here. Actually a nice move, because Overgrowth indeed has a very large main base, so there actually is, or are, a lot of possibilities for any proxy shenanigans. Haven't seen like proxy or in-base double gateway for quite some time. It could have been actually quite interesting here. So double gateway into Cybernetics core, while Koshkii actually goes for an early expand. So let's see if Piscolita will be able to apply some pressure to her opponent before she can actually make use of that base, or if Koshkii will just have enough time or will be able to defend her early expansion and thus move into the mid game with an economic advantage. So in the meantime, Koshkii moving around, wants to get some more scouting information, has actually seen all the necessary bits of information, probably just wants to wait maybe for one more pylon, wants to see whether it's going to be somewhere here or maybe somewhere out on the map. So she just has to wait for a little more, but there the third pylon goes down. Could of course also be some sort of mind game here, and Koshkii has not seen the third pylon yet, will also not see it. So might in fact just actually think that there might be a proxy pylon somewhere out on the map. So we'll see whether this probe is just for scouting. Okay, just planting down the first pylon down here. So once the mothership core pops, she will have it easier to defend this base using photon overcharge. But yeah, she's also just skeptical. No, actually, does she really want to go into a third base? Well, it seems like she, okay, no, just gathering a lot of resources here. Seems this is indeed a scouting probe. So she just wants to see whether any sort of proxy shenanigans are on the way, but there are the first two adepts already moving into the natural base and shading into the main base, getting one probe kill already. Stalker just moving right behind it, the shade gets cancelled, and actually Piscolita already moving out once more, realizing that she won't be able to deal that much damage anymore. Didn't really want to commit moving all the adepts right into the base after seeing that one Stalker had already been out, with probably one more Stalker on the way. And Stalkers in 1v1 usually beat adepts. This time around just luring the Stalkers out for a little bit more before finally shading in. Does of course not want to attack any buildings, but she rather wants to attack the probes and kill even some more of them. Just shading in, shading out. In the meantime, Piscolita managed to get out a few Stalkers of her own, so now of course she has a little bit of a better army standing in front of Koshkii's natural base here, while she takes a base of her own in the meantime. Yeah, her main goal must be for right now to just make up for the economic disadvantage she has been in for quite some time. So she actually just doesn't want to take out the army or the Nexus right now. She knows that she can't really do that. But her main goal should actually be just to try to kill as much economy as she can while getting her own economy up. But thus far she hasn't succeeded in doing so. And that will actually cause quite some problems in the mid game, since we can already see it. Koshkii just getting more and more units out, getting further and further away with a supply. The only edge that Piscolita could actually get here is tech, and that's what she invests her resources into. I mean, both players already have a robo out, so the robo tech itself is not really the edge that Piscolita can use, but the blink tech might be the edge she just needs in order to make up for the early disadvantage in the game. So let's see where Koshkii actually wants to go from here on out. Produces actually a lot of Stalkers, so we should also see Twilight Council very soon, I feel, and there it goes down. So I think it's also going to be Blink, not really much reason to build anything else from here on out. So maybe even taking an early third expand would be the other opportunity, or the other possible choice that Piscolita could have gone for, trying to make up for the economic disadvantage by just taking an earlier base and just crossing fingers hoping that her opponent won't attack her once she's gathered a strong enough force. But yeah, like I said before, Piscolita just decided to go the tech route. He wants to take down a few units, getting the Mothership Core actually, which is a pretty good use of these Stalkers already, so this is already hurting Koshkii quite a lot. Has to remake the Mothership Core right now, but the Mothership Core has lost all its energy, will start with only 50 energy and 1 photon overcharge from here on out. But not really getting more, blinking away and then just gathering all these units again at the Zalnaga Tower. Now moving in once more. Actually, the Observer could probably be in a little bit better here. Probably wanted to check for a third base, so just moves in, tries to kill off a unit, doesn't really get it, but then blinks away and just moves out over the left flank. The best thing about this is, like I said before, with the mobility of the Blink Stalkers, Piscolita can actually keep Koshkii busy for quite some time. But again, I mean, she has to get another edge, so either it's going to be better army units, maybe transitioning into Disruptors a little bit earlier than her opponent, or getting a base up while she just keeps her opponent on her toes. Next to her natural base, but Koshkii, also having the same idea, is also already taking a base of her own. In the meantime, these supplies have almost equaled out, so seems as if Piscolita has just been better at macro for a little bit throughout the last few minutes, and thus had the chance to get back into the game, both on equal probe counts here, both on almost the same amount of units here, but a few more Stalkers for Piscolita, while we already have the same amount of Immortals for both players. The Immortals not yet in play though, most of the Immortals standing at the entrance to the natural base of Piscolita here, and Koshkii actually moves out, so it could actually be a good push if Piscolita just doesn't get her forces together before the push finally arrives, but she blinks forward and now gathers her forces at the natural base ramp here. There comes Koshkii's army. Let's see how everything is going to work out. The Zealots just closing in right on top of these Stalkers, blinking away, but the Zealots are still there, so most of the army forces of Piscolita are just being trapped under the heavy Zealot fire, we could actually say, or the Zealots just cutting away at the units, and almost all of the units die before Koshkii has actually lost any of her really important units. I mean, the only thing not speaking for Koshkii right now is that she can't really reinforce her units, but actually now she can. There's a War Prism in the fray as well, and she still has the Immortals up, which is the really important part. Piscolita realizes she can't really win the game anymore. GG's out, and Koshkii takes the first map. Vani Research Station is our second map in this best of 5. Let's see if one of those players goes for an early back pocket expansion. Maybe Koshkii might be doing it again, just going for an early expand. It was easy for her to hold it and then abuse it, getting out more units, and then of course just the better army composition. She had way more speedlots out. The speedlots just tuck most of the army back, clumped up together. Most of the units were just shooting at the wrong things throughout the engagement, and thus the heavy hitters of Koshkii could freely attack and rain down death on her opponent's army, thus beating it quite convincingly. So Gateway into a Simulator. Gateway into a Simulator as well. Earlier scout for Koshkii here. Well, Piscolita, it seems, no, again, just checking for proxy positions for in-base shenanigans, but there are none to be found. Oh, still having her probe tucked back here. So first probe finally arrives at the main base entrance of Piscolita's base, just to see the second assimilator already being taken and the cybernetics core already going down. No base, of course. I mean, Koshkii didn't really need to check for that after seeing the two gases and also the cybernetics core going down. There's just not enough resources in order... you just can't get enough resources up in order to get all of these buildings and an expansion. It's just impossible. As we can see, the Nexus is here, and the second gas plus the cybernetics core have just been thrown down. But yeah, Koshkii just taking the back pocket expansion once again to go for a heavy mid-game attack, I feel. So probably almost the same build, but this time around it might be a little bit easier to defend for Piscolita, since all of the units, an early attack usually has to get into the main base through this narrow choke point here, which can easily be force fielded. You can just set up a good concave on top of the ramp, and then it's really difficult for an opponent to move in. Even speed lots can be easily fended off by building a wall here, so that the speed lots just won't be able to deal that much damage, or will maybe get stuck up in a choke point over here, where you just have one unit around. So even they cannot really use their full potential. So we'll see whether Koshkii just wants to go for the same army composition once more or not. This time around, going into Stargate, actually something we don't really see that often out of her, so nice little switcheroo here. While we have the Mothership Core out for Piscolita and the double gate opening, so we'll probably... okay, this time around we'll see the double Stalker build. So she and a Stargate behind it as well. So nicely done by her, only one Stalker in production. Yeah, that's like I said, we just don't have the resources to construct the same thing as our opponent when we went Nexus first, because we also have to invest resources into building probes as well. Of course, we will at some point get a way bigger income, which will allow us to just make up for all these early losses, tech-wise and building-wise and construction-wise. But yeah, for now we just have to invest a lot of resources into some tech units, into some army units, and also into some probes. Yeah, and this we've seen a lot of times already, that Koshkii usually just gets her first 3 Stalkers into the mineral line of her natural base. So if an opponent were to build some sort of proxy oracle, or even a non-proxy oracle, just a normal oracle or whatsoever, she will always have some units in the back in order to defend her mineral line in the natural base, and she will usually have the Mothership Core with enough energy for Photon Overcharge plus a pylon in order to defend against oracles in the main base. So in the meantime we had a little fight between the Mothership Core and a Stalker, but the Stalker gets driven away by the next Stalker that arrives. So there's the Oracle, but Koshkii already has 2 Stalkers in place, already shooting at it. Unfortunately, Piscolita not really watching, could have maybe even sniped 1 or 2 probes before flying out, because 2 Stalkers, as we can see, do not really shoot down an Oracle pretty quickly. So at the same time we may have more pressure incoming with another Stalker arriving at the front. So with these 2 Stalkers and actually the Mothership Core, Piscolita just tried to push in a little bit more, and as we see, Koshkii only went for 1 Oracle herself, and then just moved into Void Rays, whereas actually Koshkii's Oracle obviously also got shot down. So while both of them were trying to deal damage, they both just lost them. So let's see if Koshkii actually did some more damage here. Killed 5 workers at least with her little Oracle over here, but there was just not enough time to observe it all. And now is actually 10 workers ahead in the worker count, already taking a 3rd base. While, yeah, Piscolita is just behind in actually almost everything. She has less workers, she has less units, kinda. Well, she has units, but they're not really worthwhile against the composition that Koshkii is building here. Yeah, no 3rd base whatsoever in the making, so she really needs to build up quite an impressive force and waddle across the map, trying to kill Koshkii before she can actually make use of that 3rd base. Because just now building a 3rd base right behind it, hoping to eventually catch up, won't really do the trick. So there's just something that Piscolita needs to do right now. And I don't know if these 2 Phoenixes will be of much help here. I mean, 2 Phoenixes can't really lift probes and kill them easily, so Yeah, she might just lift one off and then start shooting at it, but it will just take forever in order to kill it. Okay, 2 shots, and then another one, 2 shots. Okay, so got 2 probes, that's at least something, but now a cannon is out. Probably no more chances to just kill more probes. More phoenixes arriving. Once you have the critical amount of 4 phoenixes, you can just easily lift and one-shot a probe, and then the next one, and then the next one, the next one, starting to do multiple kills in your opponent's worker line. But yeah, I mean, the idea has already been spotted or blind countered. It doesn't really matter. I mean, we've already seen Koshkii always putting these photon cannons close to her mineral lines once she just wants to move out with a mothership core, and of course the units she used to defend against early air harassment. But at some point in time, of course, you want to remove these units from that position, but you still want to have something just in kind. A drop happens, DTs happen, or the opponent just tries to fly in with an Oracle or Phoenixes in order to harass you a little bit more. So yeah, this line is totally sealed off and off limits. There's not really much that Piscolita could do. Can just hope to get a stray probe here and there, maybe killing off something here or there, maybe just picking off one probe and then flying out before the photon cannon actually deals too much damage. But Koshkii are just really playing it safe and playing it slowly, getting one more photon cannon up. She can afford it. She's already 20 supply ahead. Actually, interesting choice there by Koshkii, getting the not getting the usual armor or attack upgrade for ground, but actually going right into the plasma shield upgrade, which is very interesting. It helps out buildings as well, but yeah, since she goes for a diverse a diverse army of stalkers, of ground units, and also some air units, of course all of these units just profit from the plasma shields. So it's actually a pretty smart idea. And as we can see, Koshkii just going right into carriers and also into a mothership. So it seems as if she just expects Piscolita to not really be all too aggressive from now on out. And as we can actually see, Piscolita is just sitting back a little bit, trying to take her own third base and trying to make up for the economic disadvantage she has been in. And after Koshkii actually scouted that the third base has been up, she just takes her 4th base at the gold minerals there. So yeah, the only thing that Koshkii actually now needs to do is just mass this Golden Armada army and just steamroll over her opponent once she's maxed. As long as Piscolita doesn't really come her way soon enough in order to not let this army happen, that's actually all that Koshkii really needs to do. Just lay back, wait for the Golden Armada to finally arrive, plus the Mothership Core, and then just walk across the map and kill her, because at that point in time, Piscolita will probably not have much in order to deal with that army. I mean, this army is already pretty strong with 2 carriers in it, Void Rays plus the Mothership. Well, I mean, this is really strong, but we still have a lot of Stalkers here. We also have some Void Rays with good micro, and also the Archons might also help out a little bit. So with good micro, this army might still be able to beat this one, but not for long. So more and more carriers being often actually 3 at a time. Koshkii just producing 3 carriers at a time, also getting more upgrades. Unfortunately, not in the cybernetics core. I'd really like that. I would really like to see that happen. But yeah, she needs all the resources she can get for the triple carrier production. So it's pretty clear why there is not enough resource left. Now even getting the +2 shields upgrade, which is insane. It even takes so much time in order to finish. So let's see. I mean, Piscolita just laying back. I think she has absolutely no idea what her opponent is building, which might be actually the critical mistake here. Has probably not even seen the mothership or the 3... Does she know about the 3 Stargates? Probably not. Oh, actually she knows about 2, so she should know that air is coming. That's probably why she builds a lot of Void Rays, or at least 1 at a time. But yeah, I mean, she doesn't really have that good of an anti-air army. Constructing more and more Stalkers, it seems, just getting out 1 Void Ray at a time, while her opponent is at least on 2 Stargates. I don't really know if this really makes that much sense. So Koshkii has just warped in a few zealots on the ground to be just able to deal with more ground forces. Nice little move there by Piscolita, just moving away from the watchtower. So if actually, I don't know if this army actually was quick enough so that these units were in range before the zealots finally left the Xel'Naga watchtower. Now just moving in, but there are cannons in place, so these zealots won't really be able to deal that much damage. Does she know about the 4th base? She doesn't. Will she check? Is the question. No, she won't. Just going right for the throat. And right into the army. There's the big army clash. Yeah, okay, good storm here. Okay, actually, storms are really potent there. Just getting a lot of units with a storm and putting them down to half health here. But once the carriers move in, and we actually have 5 of them, the interceptors just tear everything to shreds. The AI of the stalkers just totally out of whack. And Koshkii takes the 2nd game for a 2-0 lead. Newkirk Precinct is our 3rd map. Spawning to the bottom right hand side in purple is our Protoss player Koshkii. And the other Protoss player is Piscolita, spawning to the bottom left hand corner in red. So far, Piscolita hasn't had an answer to Koshkii's Protoss play. Let's see what she wants to do this time around. Probably going to see Stargate expand once more out of Koshkii. Has worked for her quite well so far. Gateway gas and the scouting probe. Gateway gas, not a scouting probe for Piscolita, but going into 2nd gas, which indicates that she also wants to do some sort of early harassment or pressure tech-wise. Maybe another Stargate? Maybe some, or maybe just for early stalkers. We'll see. So, probe now finally moving out. Probe of Koshkii finally arrives. Other probe just takes the Nexus. So, actually the same build out of Koshkii 3 times in a row, but it has done her well. It served her well. So, probe arrives for Piscolita. Sees the Nexus. Moves in. Sees the Cybernetics core. No double gateway here, so maybe she just feels confident in putting some pressure onto her opponent. Yeah, there's the typical pylon for the defense later on. Like I said before, I mean, Koshkii will just do the same thing once more, getting a mothership core, getting a few stalkers out, sending the stalkers towards the mineral line of the natural base in order to protect it from early Stargate harass. And she still has a probe inside the base of Piscolita. Will now be able to just scout a little more, and there we have the double adept pressure. Probably just went for that because the adepts can just cross the map a lot quicker here. Okay, even, ooh, okay, Koshkii just planted down a pylon. Is a mothership core already out? It is, so maybe actually she just wants to apply some pressure with help of the mothership core, but yeah, unfortunately for Koshkii, her own pylon was just too close by to Piscolita's pylon, so Piscolita doesn't really want to take the risk, takes out one pylon using Photon Overcharge, takes out the other pylon with the adepts and the mothership core help as well. But there's another pylon in here as well, so I don't know if Koshkii's mothership core actually really took that long. Maybe Piscolita actually being a little bit overconfident here, thinking that the rush is already over. But Koshkii's mothership core just arrives, maybe just in time. Another Photon Overcharge goes down, will just take out the mothership core easy peasy here. Getting in, and now we'll also start shooting at the probes and of course some of these units around here. So this pylon is quite low on health, and Koshkii unfortunately doesn't really have enough energy yet for another Photon Overcharge, but if Piscolita just waits a little bit longer, she will have, and then more probes will actually die or at least get denied from mining. But yeah, finally she takes out that pylon over here. The probes can just come back. I don't know if it was actually worth it. I mean, it was a lot of resources invested into that push, but it was pretty neat. At the same time, we have an attack by Piscolita going on in the natural base of Koshkii here. And yeah, I mean, this push has already also dealt quite some damage here, having killed 4 probes now. The adepts will probably just just chain in. So she might, if she just focus fires down a few more units, even getting more probes right here. So actually we have 7 workers already killed to the 2 of Koshkii, and the 1 stalker, of course, that also died, and the mothership core. But Koshkii also had to invest 2 more pylons, so that was that were 100 minerals here and 100 more minerals over here. And then of course the 300 minerals full with the 3rd pylon dying as well. So yeah, I mean, actually that was also quite a big investment for Koshkii, and I don't really feel that it was actually worth it. But she's still up ahead in supply. She's ahead in workers, so she's actually done everything right here. And Piscolita just now starting to saturate her natural base, sending in a few more units, but the stalkers and the mothership core are already in place. Pylon finishes up right now. 1 adept could actually shade into the main base, but doesn't let it happen and returns to the main force here. Piscolita just rallying more units across the map. She likes to play an aggressive style and tries to be annoying with her units so far, but I don't think that she will really be able to deal that much damage anymore. Photon Overcharge is always available. The units just move a little bit forwards. Koshkii just has to be careful not to lose the mothership core here. Ooh, it was actually not that big of a loss. Of course, you lose the minerals and the gas that you had invested into this mothership core, but the mothership core was almost out of energies anyway, so you can just reproduce one if you want, and it will just have the same amount of energy, actually even more maybe than your normal mothership core would have at that same amount, at that same point in time. So actually nice movement here by Piscolita, just moving forward, trying to pick away at some of these buildings, actually not dealing any real damage here. I mean, yeah, she keeps her opponent on her toes, she keeps her busy, she just keeps her frightened and a little bit contained. But you also have to make use of that somehow. I mean, if you don't do direct damage, you need to do at least somehow indirect damage, or you need to use the distraction for yourself in order to get another advantage at some other point of the game. So Piscolita actually just moving back with her mothership core in order to have it available at home for photon overcharges, it seems. Rallying more and more units across the map, still wants to contain her opponent, but in the meantime Koshkii has just managed to get into adepts and is now also getting a Twilight Council. Well, with the amount of stalkers, it might be for Blink, but she might just go for the same... seeing so many stalkers, she just might go for the same composition she used earlier on to her success, which would be speedlots. So let's see if this Twilight Council is actually being used for the Zealot leg upgrade or not. It is definitely Blink for Piscolita. We've seen her produce a lot of stalkers early on in other games, and yeah, it's actually going to be charged. So Koshkii just wants to go for her typical and the usual unit composition. Will probably just lose that zealot once Piscolita finally realized that it's just one single zealot. Okay, she's just in full-out retreat, so she won't realize what's going to happen. Nice little drop here over to the right-hand side, but again, the big problem I feel with just stalkers, this is just something that is still, I wouldn't say annoy me, but it's still odd to me, that she always drops stalkers instead of like zealots, which are way cheaper and usually deal way more damage inside a mineral line, way quicker. So that's always quite odd why she always goes for stalkers, and very often also loses them, dealing some damage but then just losing all of the stalkers, and very often, and then of course all of harassment just was for naught. Okay, in the meantime we have the Dark Shrine going down. I think actually that the War Prism spotted that, right? Yeah, so if she actually clicked on that building, she should know that Dark Shrine is coming. We don't really have any static defense detection here, which is a little bit odd. We don't even have a forge, I think. Is it going down? Yeah, there it is. Okay, Piscolita just wants to get the forge down and then wants to throw down some photon cannons for additional detection inside her main base and natural base in order to protect the base lines, or the mineral lines, better from harassment. So in the meantime we have a little drop over here. Stalker's just getting in, getting one pylon here, being a little bit annoying, and then just back into the Warp Prism, moving out, okay, leaving some Stalkers behind, Koshkii that is, some Zealots behind, sorry, in order to deal with any more harassment that might come in later. So, third base almost finished for Piscolita, third base already finished for Koshkii. She again has about roughly 20 supply more. And they're the Resonating Glaives for Piscolita. Don't really know if that upgrade that late in the game does really make that much sense. But of course it's better to get an upgrade than not to have it later on. But I think you don't really want to have that many Adepts later on. And there are the first few DTs getting warped into the Warp Prism. Warp Prism will now fly into the main base. There's still no cannon up here, despite the forge being built. There's only one pylon here as well, so she's just using the forge for upgrades, it seems, and maybe hasn't even realized. Yeah, and of course Photon Overcharge won't really help her that much. Ooh! Losing the Warp Prism with the 2 Dark Templars inside. Don't really know why actually Koshkii loaded both of the DTs in there. I mean, might have expected that the army that was coming back had some detection, or she just wanted to make safe that the DTs actually survived, but the Photon Overcharge was no threat to the DTs whatsoever, since there was no detection over here available at all. Stalkers moving in, but the Speedlots just cornering them, and will probably just chop them down. Okay, unfortunately Koshkii not really paying attention, these Zealots not really getting the best surround of these Stalkers here, but eventually we'll take them out. Yeah, and like I said before, I mean, this was 3 Stalkers for 5 probes. Don't really know if that was worth the trade, but there are some Zealots warped in. Okay, and even though they are not Speedlots, they would still have probably dealt better, and even if they hadn't dealt better, they wouldn't have been that much of a loss, because they are just expendable minerals you don't really have to use anywhere else. So, High Templars being morphed in for Koshkii, probably for Archon production, I feel, but Koshkii finally has had enough, just moves across the map, now finally searching for the direct engagement, and yeah, this direct engagement could be quite problematic for Piscolita here. She has more Immortals, the Immortal count is higher, but again, I think it will just almost work out the same as we've seen before. The Zealots, the Speedlots, just pinning back most of her units, making especially the Immortals shooting at the wrong units most of the time. So instead of shooting Stalkers and maybe even the other Immortals, they will just mostly shoot at the Zealots. Nice microing here by Piscolita, trying to just stutter step back and getting rid of the Zealots before they can actually all deal all their damage. But yeah, again, like I said, just pressing it back. Almost half of the army of Piscolita has already died, and now finally Koshkii just moves into the natural base, while at the same time we have a big warp in coming from the top where the Warp Prism was in order to harass the third base. So Piscolita now just has to defend at home and also attack at home, while Koshkii has to do the same, just attack at the front and defend somewhere at home. The defense at home should be quite easily done, I feel. Okay, more and more warp-ins. Yeah, but these warp-ins should finally suffice. She should probably just lose a few more units, but the question is, will she win the main fight? And it seems as if the Zealots on the ground just reign supreme, killing off all of the warped-in Zealot of Piscolita here. Although both of them just have the same amount of upgrades here, but yeah, the Warp Prism of Koshkii also helping out, and of course the DTs being uncontested there. Finally an observer arrives that makes the DT visible, but yeah, Koshkii just unfolding her Warp Prism will be able to just warp in a few more units, and in some time has already taken a 4th base, just sending across the units she used in order to defend at home. But I feel that Piscolita just doesn't have enough left, might just barely end up holding her main base for now. It seems more units just coming in from the left hand side might just tear them down. Nice little micro management there here by Koshkii, just loading in the Archon and a few wounded units, moving out for now. But once the Immortal arrives and the rest of the units are here as well, and these units are unloaded and then another warp-in is ready, I feel that Koshkii should just finally break through here, especially with the help of the DT, since the Observer is somewhere around, but no, it's actually dead. Okay, she somehow actually managed to kill the Observer of Piscolita, which is just very unfortunate for her right now. And now even getting into the 3rd base. If the 3rd base should fall, this or if the base fell, that should be game. So nothing more to speak about. And Piscolita can't really do anything against it. Drops to below 40 supply, GG's out, and Koshkii takes the series with a convincing 3-0.